Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the EcoStruxure Machine Expert HVAC. I'm your host, Leandro Mada, and in this video what we're going to see is a quick implementation of the BACnet communication that we have on the controller. So for this, it's important to have one of the libraries that the HVAC center that we have at Schneider have created, so we can speed up the process to make the communication. So if we don't have the library, don't worry, I can put the links for the library to download. So the idea of this part of the video, I have another idea of creating another training for BACnet completers from the theory and for each of the blocks and how to communicate. In this video, what I want to do is just the basic configuration and how to communicate with the system or the BACnet that you have. In this case, I'm going to use YABE just to share analog values and Boolean values, and that's it. So we can easily start with this, and then in the complete training that I will probably do, let's go into more detail into this function and all the functions that we have, but this one is just a quick one. So let's start with a new project. So it's going to be training BACnet. I'm going to use this controller, which is the one that I have next to me. So one of the important things that we need to do here, or I usually start, is by using the multiple files project. So in this way, on the folder that our project is going to be located, we should be able to see the this file over here. The other folder, training BACnet is here and here. So as soon as we create this, we should be able to find this source code that we have all this. No, this one is not training BACnet. So after the compilation, okay, we should be able to see a folder called src. So if we save this, compile, and open again the folder, should be able to see this one. And inside we have the global variable list and the main. So what I'm going to do now is to easily drag and drop here one specific file that's going to be easy for me to work, which is this one, which is BACnet init, that I have some initialization of what I want to do in the code. So I'm going to copy and paste it over here. Okay, I'm going to close this project. Okay, and now I'm going to open it again, HVAC, training BACnet. Let's open the other side. Okay, and now I'm going to move it. Nope. Now I'm going to move it. Yes. So now that I move this, what we can do here is to see that this is the application I have moved. Okay, that is came from a template that the HVAC center has done. So in my particular case, I'm going to do or use this part, okay, but I will change some of the variables over here that I have. So this is just getting started. So this is the BACnet. You can see there are a few things that we don't have that we're going to have it. So on the library tree, what we need to do is to add the library for the BACnet. So it's going to be here, BACnet add-on. That is the one that the HVAC center has created. Okay, you can see that I had the BACnet add-on, and here are the functions that we can use. Okay, I'm going to go to talk about that later. Now, this is the program that we need in order to initialize the BACnet object, and then here the library. So let's go to the configuration now. In this part, it's important to configure the BIOS parameter. In my case, I'm going to select the IP address this to 172.1, here the default gateway 192.168.1.1, and this one is 255.255.255.0. I know it's going to be the same, but I just leave it because I like it. Here is to enable some of the protocol for cybersecurity. I'm going to enable everything. Okay. And it's important to also enable, in my case, I'm going to use Ethernet to use the BACnet and test it. So what we need to do is to enable the BACnet port. Just found it here. So the default port, if you use 0, is this one, but I'm going to manually put it, port 00. And then here we just put this one in true. Okay, so what we have done here is to load the debug, the EEPROM parameters, okay, for the BACnet, and then I enable the BACnet port so we can use it over Ethernet. Otherwise, if this is not enabled, no communication at all. So this is one important thing that we need to do. Now, as you can see over here, let's go to programming. There is this BACnet thermostat, which is the object, okay, that we haven't created yet. And then we have two variables. This one, we should be able to create it, or we just delete it, but I'm just going to put it over here. So put the BACnet unsigned double int, unsigned double int, and then we have another one that I don't remember the name. This one. Unsigned 8 bits. And I'm going to use something like that. Oops. Okay. So I have created these two variables because are here in the init. Now, if I compile this, we're going to have an error because this object is not created. So let's compile. Okay. I should have received an error. Let's compile all. Should have received an error if the function block is called. Okay, so let's call this one. As it's back in init, it should go to the init. And now let's compile it. And there we go. So this object is not created, and it's the one that we need to create. So here in device, the BACnet object, we should be able to add the object device thermostat because it's a template. But along with this add-on library, the HVAC Center has also created a template for the objects and properties that we can have for each of the elements. So what I can do here is to import from file. Here we have templates and we have light and standard. So we know that each amount of parameters will have a specific size. So if you're not worried about the size and everything, you just go for the standard. If otherwise, you just go to the light. In this case, as I'm going to quickly, or trying to make it quickly, I will go with the standard. Okay, and then in the future, on the complete training, let's go to more deep. So in this case, we have template for each of the objects that we have here. In this particular case, I need to use the device template. Automatically, it will ask me, hey, you don't have the BACnet library, the default library, not the add-on. So just add it. Yes. And now we should be able to import the file now. device template, yes. So in this case, it's going to be M172 BACnet. Okay, as you can see, we have some predefined objects. Otherwise, we should be able to go add and see the attributes, okay, into this object of the BACnet. So this will allow us to see the BACnet device now. Now, as you can see here, I have already changed this. Instead of using this BACnet thermostat, I use M172 BACnet. So I should be able to change this because it's a different object now. In there, in there, in there, in there. Okay, and just because I want, I put it over here. So now if I combine this, okay, good. As you can see now, I'm going to try to connect to the controller. Set up communication, Modicon TCP, okay. 192.168.1.72 is the one that I have already. So I'm going to connect to this one and then make a full download. So on the full download, it will also send this configuration and everything. So just wait for it to finish. And then we can see the YABE external application just to double check that the device isn't there. Okay, so okay, yeah. So I haven't created any option for analog or binary object, so I should be able to see the device only on YABE. So let's wait for this to finish. Just check. So I'm going to ping the 192.168.1.72 -T. Okay, it's live. You cannot see it, but it's connected. Source okay. So let's just resize this. Yeah, there we go. So you see that you have source okay and connected. So if we open YABE, this just another BACnet Explorer. Okay, right click, add device. Should open this side. Here I just need to add my my port on the computer. Okay, so I add it. You can see here there is one device with this port of BACnet and this is the IP address. So as soon as I click, I can see M172 BACnet, which is the device I have added. Okay, and here we should be able to see some of the information. Okay, the firmware, the information that I have already defined as the properties, okay, or attributes, much better. I have defined it here, and I can see it over here. So far, the PLC is on the BACnet. Okay, we can communicate with the system now. This is not enough. Okay, we just need to share information. So let's go by sharing information. So I'm going to just close it, and now let's disconnect. So in this particular case, I have a temperature sensor here. Temperature sensor connected. Again here, I need, for example, if I'm going to make a comparison, I have the analog input coming into the PLC and I need to send that to the BMS. So that particular case, we just need to add an object, import option. So in this particular case, it's going to be analog input value. It's going to be, in this case, we have a template. I'm going to use this one. So it's going to be object analog input temp. So in this particular case, you can see that this is the template for this kind of object, the analog input. As you can see here, there is a lot of things already, but if we use add, we should be able to add more things. Here, There's a lot of things, and I'm going to be in details right now. I just want to easily integrate and then go into very specific things that you need, but at least you have the communication. So this will be for the analog input to send from the PLC to the BACnet, to the BMS, so they can see, for example, in this case, my analog input that has the temperature sensor. Now, if I want, for example, to set on the PLC a value from the BMS, so the PLC can make the comparison to execute something, for example, the offset is different, and we need to select, instead of analog input, analog value. This one, I have this example, this template. So offset, analog value, set point. I have this, and again I have more attributes that I can put it here, and you can see here I have the possibility to change this, but I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay, so leave it and then just make the communication, then play with it in case you need it. So I have already these two parameters, one that's coming from the PLC to show the data on the BMS, and then from the BMS that's going to set a parameter. Okay, now what we need to do now is to set this thing. So I'm going to use, for example, I need an additional variable, so it's going to be a real BACnet set point. I'm going to use real. Okay, now let's compile this part. I'm going to go to programming. So this part is already done. Now what we need to do is to configure where to receive the variables. Okay, this is not enough. So for that we have on the BACnet add-on two main folders, input and value. And you can see here I have BACnet analog input, and this the binary input. Okay, so we need to use in this case this one for to send from the PLC, send in a way the value that they have for the analog input to the BMS, and then from the other way around, from the BACnet, we can use any of these three for the analog value to set in our PLC the new, in this case, set point that we have. So going to do that, what I do is to create a new program. I'm going to use FED because it's more clear to see the variables. So I'm going to use BACnet underscore main, because in all the examples I see main, just like it and leave it. So here what we can do is to create one for this, for the input, and the other one for the set point I'm going to receive. Now we have this this one that is for the updates of the values, of the preset values that we have. I'm just going to leave it because I'm going to use it later for the complete module, but let's just leave it. So instance BACnet update, let's call it like this, and I'm going to put this as false here, and we're going to copy it later, not in this video. The idea is to try to show you how you can easily try to work with this. Now let's try by sending the value to the BMS. So AI instance BACnet temperature be created on the name. I just do it in this way, and then what we can do, you can create another network, or in my case I'm going to use the same one to add the other one, this one over here. This case I have created a real value, so instance BACnet underscore set point here. Good. In my case I'm going to let's just create a new rank for everything, and that's it. I don't want to mess around. Let's make it easy. So after, I'm going to drag and drop this one over here. Okay, now let's create a new variable to enable the block. So cmd enable BACnet. This one can be a status variable or an EEPROM, whatever you want. In this case, I'm just doing it this way to make it easy for me. Now, this one I'm going to send the value to the BACnet. So here what we need is the BACnet object that should be here, the configuration variables, BACnet options. As you can see here, I have the analog input temp. Okay, I'm going to put it over here, and then for the set point, we need the access to the object. So I'm going to put it over here for the set. Now, here you can see that we had a PTR, so it means that we need the pointer, the address, the ADR. So I need to use it that way. Here, this. And this particular case, I'm going to send the temperature. So here in the value, I need to use in my case, the analog input that I have here, and I'm going to put it. So I'm going to send here the analog input. We have this scale, so we can scale the value, as this one is going to be, for example, if I'm reading 223, it's going to be 22.3. So I need to multiply by 0.1 in this case to be scaled. And then, for example, what I can do here is to let's see, our temperature, and I'm going to use real just to show you the final information. So I can probably use this one in the code that probably later you can separate if the information is coming from the analog input or I'm going to send a different one. Just leave it this way. So I recreate another variable there, and I'm going to use another one for the let's say this R set point real. So this is going to be the one that I will use in the code in order to make some kind of comparisons later. Now let's see, we need to add an ADR here. And in this particular case, I need another ADR to read the variable that is going to store this on the EEPROM, and in my case, it's going to be this one. Okay. And the scale, if I know wrong, is going to be 1.0 because it's going to be a real variable. So by doing it this way, it will allow you, okay, I want the information that came from the BACnet or from the EEPROM that I have, and then I use this one, okay, to use my logic. Or another way it would be to use, okay, I want from the BACnet object to override the BACnet on the EEPROM, and then it just use that on the same code, or use this one, so you don't need to mess around. But that will depend if you use the different USI mode, okay, where to read. And if I know wrong, by default is number 2, that it will update the EEPROM from the value that come from the BACnet. So this will give me the advantage to see, okay, on the YABE the information and change the information. So I'm going to add after a comparison, so we can see this. So let's say cool. Just create some code. So let's try to connect and download everything now. So it's important that we need to identify when to use the analog input and an analog value object here. So analog input is when you want to send information from the PLC to the BMS, and the analog values when you want to receive from the BMS into the PLC, and then make everything. And for each kind of object, you have different functions to use. Okay. That would be the best the best way and easy way to do it. So open the in 2.6.1 68.1.72 XT. Brilliant, it's communicating. So let's open YABE. YABE. So right click over here, add device. I need to put my computer, as I mentioned before. And you can see here they have, two different options. I have the PLC, this one was working fine, and this one I have an input value, analog input offset, and analog value option. So if I click over here, I have the analog input temperature, and I have the analog value set point. Okay, so if I go connected again to the controller online, this is the temperature that you want. Okay, this is the temperature that I have on the analog input of my PLC, and then this one is the one that I want to enable. Okay, otherwise they're gonna get out of service. Okay, so I have already played with this with the same name, I'm afraid, so it's going to send the value. But if we subscribe to this, so subscribe, we should be able to see the values I'm seeing here. So 22.1, okay, 221 is fine. And then if I here, you should be able to make some modification where it's going to send the data, blah 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 blah. But let me just increment the temperature. Okay, you can see there that it has increased. I believe I need to modify one of these ones to show this how it changed. Okay, but this is how it changed. It's going to send the data to the BMS system. Okay, you will need to modify this part, but I leave you to play with that. Okay, now if you want to modify this value, okay, you should be able to go here, temperature. I didn't modify the other one. Okay, go to this one and then go to here and modify, but it will not allow us because this one is just analog input offset, so you cannot write from the BMS. What you can write is the analog value offset. So if we go here, have the 24, okay, so I'm going to change this to 28.6. So 28.6, and you can see here it changed 28.6. Okay, and now if I use this in my code, I should be able to change this and play with it. So let's put this over here. So I'm going to change the preset value to 23.5. You can see now it's working my logic. Okay, and if I play with this 26.5, you can see it just got off. Okay, so this is how you can send and receive information using the BACnet and the options. You can see I'm trying to make it quick. So now that we have the analog values, it's time to go for the binary values. So let's disconnect from the controller. So let's see, top, oh, it just wanted before. So we have binary input and binary value. Okay, binary input is going to be the one that I'm going to send. So in this particular case, I will try to send to the BACnet that I am cooling. Okay, for example, so it's going to be BACnet cooling. Okay, I'm going to use the same to enable the BACnet. This point, I need to create the object and the value. The value is going to be this one, the cooling. Okay, and then I need before the one that's going to write, so I'm going to use this one, instance BACnet enable control, just to enable the control of this. So I'm going to drag the command here to enable this, otherwise it's going to be out of service. And here I need the object and the EEPROM variable or the status variable for this one. And then I can use an output here. So I'm going to create a new CMD enable control. And I'm going to use this one. Okay. And this particular case, I'm going to enable input and output and use this one. So if we don't have the control externally, I cannot activate the logic on the PLC. Okay, so I create two objects and one variable. So let's see here, save. I'm going to create another one here, X BACnet enable control. It's going to be control boolean. Okay, nice. So now that I created this one, I need to create the binary values, binary object. So here again we have the template. So binary input is going to be object, binary input is going to be binary input is going to be the cooling. Okay, you can see again binary value, and again here import alarm template just to send is going to be object binary value underscore enable control. Okay, so something important here is that this PLC doesn't support all of the object binaries. So in this case, I'm using value for any of these because it uses the binary value. It's just something that you need to remember. That's why you need to use binary value here. And again, you have different attributes. So for this particular case, what you need to pay attention is that the M172 doesn't support the other ones, and that's why I'm using this binary value for both of them. But this is just for me to recognize everything and which block to use. So I created those ones, and now I need to use them here. So I need to compile this so I can see the objects and then the new variables. Okay, I have it there. So let's drag and drop these ADR from here, ADR here, and another ADR here. So let's connect this one to here, this one to here, and this one to here. So now cooling, I'm going to put it over here. And then here, the control here, and the BACnet EEPROM parameter here. So I have already configured everything. quickly, or I think I'm doing it quickly. Now it's time to connect. I'm going to download all just in case. I believe I don't forget about anything, but let's just see. So the important thing of this is we have already a library called BACnet, but we have another library created by the HVAC Center. It's called BACnet _ add-ons that makes everything much easier for us to integrate this BACnet. So in this particular video, I didn't go into much details about everything. The idea later will be to create a proper training where I have explained everything, where I can check, for example, what happened with the status, if it doesn't work, the USI mode, and everything. But I'm going to try to make it fast. That's why. Just close YABE, and I'm going to use the CMD to check if I have the connection again with the controller. Ping 192.168.1172. Yes, it's correct. Let's connect to the controller and see the things here. Okay, now let's open YABE. YABE, right click over here, add device, put this over here, add object, the PC. So you can see the two different binary values, cooling and preset. So I'm going to put all this, subscribe over here. Now let's see what's going on. So for the cooling, as you can see, is false. You can see here it's out of service because it's not enabled. So I need to enable this. Once this is enabled, it's okay. Now here, well, here you have the limits and everything, but I'm going to explain that now. Just want you to be able to share the information, and then you can play with it further. So this is done. So I'm making the comparison here. I'm going to reduce this one. So set point going to try to be lower. Offset set point 20 value 20.0. So this one is higher, but as you can see, it's not enabled because it doesn't work because this one is not enabled. So I need to activate the cooling in every control. So this one, preset value, I'm going to change that to 1. Okay, you can see, and I'm receiving also the information that this one is cooling. Okay, so it's good. It's working fine. Now, if I change the set point now, once again, if I change the set point to 23.6, you can see this one is lower. So I can't modify the temperature by just clicking or touching the probe. You can see it's increasing. There we go. You can see it's working fine, and I can see the value on the other side. So if I delete this part, enable control, and I put it on 0, you can see that this one is not working anymore. Okay, but in this particular case, it just keep the value. Okay, because this one is not updated. Okay, if I change these values, you should be able to see that this one keeps true, if I'm not wrong. So let's go here. Set point is going to be present value 29.3. See, and this condition keeps true even if it isn't true, because the output is not updated because the enable is off. So now if I enable this again, enable control, this one in true, the system should be off this part as expected. Okay, so yeah, this is how you can quickly start with the BACnet. It's important to have the let's just go here, the BACnet _AC, that this one comes with software. This one is just the add-on, and depending on the options, you need to use this one and this one. Okay, for inputs this one, and for the values offset this ones. You have different ones. This one is also important just to force the variables, but I will cover that later. Important just leave it in there, that we can work on that. It is important to define this one. Okay, I know that the default has more things, but this is going to be enough. Then define the objects. Remember to use the templates, which is very straightforward. Then for some of the variables, you need to create the variables on the EEPROM or the status will depend on your application in order to play with it. And it's also important to define the variables on the BIOS that you want and enable the BACnet over here. Okay, otherwise it will not work. You'll not be able to see the things. So this is how you can quickly start working with the BACnet. I try to make it so fast as I can without trying to explain just a little bit of the things that you need to do. But the idea later is to create like a full project divided on introduction, the main thing that you can do in each of the objects, also with explanation of the function blocks, so you can easily see the potential of the BACnet that we have with the controller. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.